our next guest, is an NBA champion, SiriusXM NBA host, Pelicans color analyst, and a Fox Sports Radio NBA analyst. He is hustling, a hustler extraordinaire, our man Antonio Daniels. What's up, brother?
Broussard Shaun King. How you guys doing, man?
We are great, my man. We are great. And
Excellent.
Let's get it. We got a lot to get into. The big news, of course, coming out of this, at least the second round of the draft, Bronny James teaming up with his dad. Antonio, I mean, you've been around the game, the NBA game, for close to 30 years. Did you ever think you'd see something like this? They're the first father-son duo to play together. It's an awesome story. Did you ever think you'd see this?
No, I mean, the thing is, realistically, you don't even think about this. Like, no one ever thought about this until LeBron said, I want to play with my son. You know, because if you look at, like, I just saw the roster for, like, the 17 and under USA basketball team. Gilbert Arenas' son is on there. Trevor Ariza's son's on there. Carmelo Anthony's son's on there. Bryce James is on there. And just, like, the wild thing to think about. Like, people are going to hate on this forever. It's a given because it's LeBron James. So people are going to hate it. Rich Paul, I can't believe he did this and told people not all this other kind of stuff. The fact of the matter is, I got 3 kids. I got a daughter that's 18. We have a daughter that's 13. And I got a son that's 6. I would love to play with my son. I would love that. I'm sure Carmelo Anthony would love to play with his son. Right. Gilbert Arenas would love to play with his son. Trevor Ariza would love to play with his son. This is rare air that we're talking about. And as opposed to people constantly hating on it and thinking of a reason to dislike it or discredit Bronny James for this, man, sit back and enjoy.
I'm with you. And if anything, I think it enhances Bron's legacy because he's done something that, to be honest, nobody's really been able to do, which is be elite for so long that he did have a child that comes around and he's still not just on a team. He's a legit all-star caliber player.
I mean, my thing with LeBron is his legacy is what it is. I don't think this, like, the only thing I feel like now that can enhance LeBron's legacy is championship. Right. That's it. I think that's where LeBron is at this. Think about it. He's the NBA's all-time leading scorer. He's top 5 in assists. Like, him playing with his son isn't going to move him up in the GOAT conversation. LeBron is one of the greatest to ever do it no matter what, whether or not Bronny was playing with LeBron or not. When we start talking about legacy as far as NBA standards are concerned, I think it's great what he's doing now. I think it's unprecedented what he's doing now. But the only thing I think that actually changes LeBron's legacy moving forward is bringing another championship to L.A.
You guys be careful, Chris. There's an emotional component to this that for all the good that Bron has done, never really got in any trouble, been a stand-up dude, he's still kind of a polarizing figure. It's a lot of love, but also a lot of hate when it comes to his evaluation. Let us have a big-time moment, Antonio, when him and his son participate sometime in the near future and win a game together. His transition as far as how beloved he is, I think still is unfinished.
Oh, well, when we talk about that kind of legacy, I think that's different. Right. When I think of legacy, I think of in between the 4 lines. That's what I think of legacy. That's what I'm referencing. Like, his legacy as a family man, his legacy as an entrepreneur, his legacy as a role model, his legacy as a stand-up individual. That is what it is. And I'm with you there because with LeBron, there's a ton of love, but there's also a ton of hate. You know, and with this, you know, as soon as Bronny got drafted, I went to social media just to see what people were saying. And the fact that people were kind of upset at the amount of power that LeBron James has, that Rich Paul has, that kind of puts things in perspective for me as far as the view that people are seeing this from.
And Antonio, you know, man, nepotism is rampant throughout the NBA. You know, I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, Giannis's brother is playing in Milwaukee. J.R. Smith's brother once played with the Knicks. And the coaching is – and look, they're good like Michael Malone is a great coach. But his dad coached in the NBA. That was his path. You know, David Adelman. Steve
Kerr's son, his son, Nick, is the coach of their G League team. Like, yes,
there you go.
This is how it goes
Yep.
This is how it goes. When you go to a family business, you know what they do in family business? They hire their family.
Right.
So why are people acting like LeBron James is the only one to do? I can't believe that they are doing this. Oh my gosh, it happens every day.
Have you seen enough of Bronny to give an idea of when you think he might, or if he ever might, become like a rotation player, maybe a starter, and what kind of player you think he could grow into?
My thing is, I don't think any of us are knowledge enough to say right now what Bronny will become, because there are so many guys that were slept on and were talked bad about and end up becoming something special. Like, the thing is, when you go to the combine and you do the cone test and the bench press test and the vertical test and all these different kind of, they can measure a lot and they test a lot. But there are certain things that are within guys that you can't measure. And we don't know that from the outside looking in. We have no idea. I have no idea what kind of player Bronny's going to be. I see people talking about, oh, my gosh, I can't believe this dude averaged 5 points per game and he went 55th in the draft. Well, didn't the first pick of the draft average like 9 points a game?
Right.
Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? The guy that Atlanta drafted, I can't pronounce his name.
Zachary
Ricochet.
Yeah.
What do you average? 9-10 points a game? So,
right.
I mean, the thing is, we don't know what guys are going to become because we don't understand and know guys' work ethic and the motor that they have.
Head to head, Bronny actually outscored him. Where was that at, Rob G? When they played 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Bronny outscored. Let me ask you this quickly. Go ahead. You can go ahead, Sean. You had
let me ask you this, because you won a world championship because you were a better fit in San Antonio than you were in Vancouver, who drafted you. Shout out to the Vancouver Grizzlies back in the day, by the way. How does Bronny's fit match up with the Lakers' current roster?
He doesn't right now. He doesn't. I mean, that's being honest. Now, I think what Bronny will do, he'll be on the roster, and he'll be a part of their G League team. Like, Rich Paul saying, I don't want Bronny to sign a two-way contract. What Rich Paul did not say, he didn't say that Bronny couldn't play in the G League. He just said, I don't want him signing a two-way deal. So Bronny can still, in essence, go down and play in the G League, which I'm sure he will. Because the thing that Rich Paul or LeBron James that they don't want to do, they don't want to stunt his growth. And a part of growing is taking that same route, going to the G League, getting some reps. But the G League season starts after the NBA season does. So when the season does start, Bronny will be on the LA Lakers roster. But I'm not expecting Bronny to be a rotation guy. I'm not expecting Bronny to be a guy that's out there 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not expecting him to get any playing time unless it's a blowout.
Antonio, in about 2 minutes, your answer. What'd you make? I mean, the top two players were from France. The three of the top six were from France. Obviously, a lot of international players taken. Not a lot of college players, at least at the top of the draft. Even you have some G League guys. What'd you make of that, and what do you make of it going forward? I mean, we've kind of seen it coming, but what are your thoughts on it?
For sure. Well, obviously, the game has become international. You look at the past, 5 or 6 MVPs.
Right.
None of them are American-born. Right. I tell you what I find interesting, though. What I find so incredibly interesting is how 4-year guys and even 3-year guys are looked at in the NBA draft like that really, really attractive 50-year-old lady in the club. It's like, oh, my gosh, you know what? Like, you really look good, but you're here for a reason. So something has to be wrong with you. But if a guy is 22 years old, like if I told you now that Anthony Edwards was a finished product, wouldn't you tell me I'm crazy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So why do we think that guys, when they come out of college at 22 years old, are finished product?
Well, I would say this. I do think that a lot of these guys, and you can just look at the Knicks with the Villanova guys that stayed 3 and 4 years. Like, a lot of times those guys come in more ready to contribute, more mature, even if they're not as talented, right? But I do think, and I want your thoughts on this before you go. I think, Antonio, the the reason people look negatively at a guy like Dalton Knecht, right, who went 17, I think that's a great pick for the Lakers. But I think, and I do think it's a little fair. You have to balance it, but to say, okay, he's 23 playing against younger players, the guys his age that are really good are in the NBA already. So he is playing against a lesser, competition. I think that's fair. I think it has to be balanced, but I do think there's some fairness there.
For me, they're capping guys out, right? When you look at guys I look at a Jose Alvarado, I look at a Najee Marshall, I look at a Trey Murphy, I look at a Desmond Bain, all these guys, Kyle Kuzma, all these guys came in rotation ready. You know what I mean? And it's because they went to school for 3 or 4 years. Like, I struggle with that. I struggle with that because a lot of times guys are being drafted. Like Sean, you said I was a better fit in San Antonio than I was in Vancouver. What I would say is I felt like San Antonio believed in me more than Vancouver did.
Right.
It's like Vancouver almost had a microwave thought process, even though it was their 3rd year in existence. San Antonio was like, okay, we're going to sit back, we're going to let this simmer, and let's see what you can become here. And I feel like a lot of times these guys that they're drafting at 18 and 19 years old that are 1 to 2 years removed from prom are not ready to be the face of an organization.
Well, that's certainly the truth. That's our man, Antonio Daniels. Great stuff as always, brother. Thank you.
For sure. Appreciate you guys.
Yep.